Let's talk about speedrunning. More specifically, let's talk about the improving and practicing of speedruns in general. To me, improving and speedrunning in general is just as much a physical thing, click, clack, push the buttons, as much as it's a mindset thing when it comes to improving and practicing. I've been speedrunning since 2014. My first GDQ appearance was I was doing Titan Souls at AGDQ 2015, and it was a ton of fun. And ever since then, I've been hooked. And I've learned a lot over, the 10 years of speedrunning. And I kind of wanted to just share a little bit of that because it kind of goes along with all this. Just some tips that I've learned in improving or practicing and just speedrunning in general. And the first one I think I like to go over, which is the main point of it all, is just the concept of finishing your runs. It can be very difficult sometimes to be on a run that's so far behind you're never gonna PB. You've messed up the best tricks of your run. There's no time save left. Why continue? But I would argue that you should try and finish runs as much as possible. You can grind out that perfect first minute as much as possible, but if you haven't played the other 20 minutes in ages, that first minute's not going to matter because you're terrible at the other 19, 20 minutes. Getting down that average over time, it may not feel like it, and like I said, it may feel like crap to finish these dead runs, but that's how you see that incremental improvement over time, that consistent small steps of improving. And I think it's one of the best kind of pieces of advice I've ever been given is just finish your runs as much as possible. You learn so much from it, whether it's obvious or not. And building that consistency kind of leads me to another topic I like to say, which is consistency in general and picking what strats you do. Now, when I'm learning a run either new or I'm just starting to improve at it, sometimes I won't pick the most fastest up-to-date strats possible for doing tricks and stuff or routes. For me, a lot of the time, I like to pick the more consistent stuff. If something is 100% consistent versus a trick that's 50% consistent, but the consistent one is, I don't know, 10 seconds slower, in a 40-minute run, what's that 10 seconds while I'm still learning, right? I'd rather focus my efforts in finishing runs and getting better at the more important core concepts, like learning how to run straighter lines and getting that movement of the game down pat. And those core things like movement tech and good movement and those sorts of things usually end up benefiting you more in the long run than, say, a trick that saves 10 seconds. And this applies to all games, whether it's, like I said, platformers with movement tech or RPGs where you need to just learn stuff about the game, experience edge cases. In any kind of genre of game, it's important to finish runs and find consistent ways to do so you can learn more over time. Now, when it comes to learning stuff, the next point I want to go over, and this is one that I've had people tell me is like, they were like, that's actually a really good idea. I don't think of that super often, which is when you're learning a run, try to watch more than just the world record run. And that can seem counterintuitive sometimes because you want to learn, you're trying to be the fastest you can be. Let's look at the run that's the fastest, right? Wrong. Now, why do I say that? When I go to learn a run and I'm learning to improve, usually I go, step 1, watch the world record. Okay, step 2, watch second place. Just immediately start watching second place. And then what I end up doing from there is watching a run that's close to the goal time that you have for your run. So if you're doing, say, an hour-long run and you're an hour and a half right now, and we're saying hours like world record, and you want to, your goal is an hour and 15 minutes, watch an hour 15-minute run. You may find strats in there that are more consistent or safer Heck, I've found strats that are faster buried in 30th place on a leaderboard before. Sometimes strats just get lost to time. You know, somebody just does it, submits a run, and never tells anybody, and you're like, what is that? So I always tell people that watching other runs than just the first place or even first and second place can usually be super beneficial and teach you a lot of things. The last thing I want to go over is not so much a tip for improvement, but just a general principle when it comes to speedrunning is just do runs for you. If you're having fun, you're more likely to improve, you're more likely to stick with it, and don't do it for any other reason than that. Speedrunning should be a hobby of self-improvement, and sometimes that gets lost in a sea of competition. But you shouldn't be doing runs because it's going to get into a GDQ or so you can get on a leaderboard for some magical invisible internet clout. You don't need a leaderboard to do a run. Is really like the base of it. Heck, this weekend I did a speedrun of Final Fantasy IX all cards. So it was beating Final Fantasy IX with all 100 Tetramaster cards. Is there a leaderboard for it? No. Will there be a leaderboard for it? God, no. Will anybody do the run? Maybe. But I did it for me, and it was so much fun, and I had a blast with it. And I think that's an important thing to take away is just like make sure you're running games that are, you know, fun for you and that you enjoy doing. But yeah, I just wanted to go over some of the things that I have taken away from speedrunning throughout the years of doing it, because I've told them here and there to some people, and a lot of people have told me that it's kind of useful knowledge to know. Unrelated to speedrunning in general, but kind of one of the things I just want to end with is just, you know, the best way you can improve is just to practice, but to make sure that you're practicing efficiently and not just throwing your head at the wall for an hour and then wondering why you're not getting better. You know, actually take the time to research other runs, learn what's faster, consistent, and finish those things, and actually like absorb things. Good practice leads to better runs, not just blind practice. So let me know in the comments if any of this was kind of useful to you or just interesting in general, but that's really just what I wanted to talk about in terms of speedrunning. So I hope people found it useful and interesting. I'll catch you guys in the next video.